Now it's time to check that the other element is present inside activity item component. I'm talking about this base select component, which shows period select options. So to make sure that this select component will always be present in the activity item component, I'm going to write testing scenario for this. Here I'll say that it has period select. So firstly, as always, we're gonna have to mount activity item component. Next, let's open up activity item component and take a look at the markup of this component to determine what we can check first. For example, we can check that this placeholder prop will receive proper text. Let's get back to the test. And in order to write expectations against base select component, which is contained inside activity item component that we are rendering in this test, I'm going to call findComponent method on the wrapper object and find component by its name called base select. And then I'm going to extract all the props that we are passing inside this component by calling props method, like so. And before writing expectations, let's firstly check which props we're going to get in the terminal. By the way, this base select component is generic component, and to quickly fix this TypeScript error, I'm basically going to cast this component type into any, like so. And in a terminal, we are seeing the whole props object. For now, we are only interested in placeholder prop. So I'm going to write the expectation, which is going to allow us to check values of every property. I'm going to use toMatch object matcher. And here let's specify an object with props and values that we expect to get. So for example, if we are interested in placeholder prop, we're gonna specify this name right here and the value that we expect this property to have. And the test is passing. Next, let's also check the next property that we are passing into this base select component, which is options property. As we can see, options property contains period select options, and this period select options array is imported from another module, constants.ts. So in our test, I'm also going to import this array of options and then specify this options property in this object with period select options constant value. The test is still passing. Moving on to checking the next prop called selected. As we can see, this prop should contain value from seconds to complete property of the activity object. So when rendering activity item component, we have to override seconds to complete property of an activity object that is going to get passed into activity item component as a prop. Right here I'm going to declare constant with the name seconds to complete and random value. And then when rendering activity item component, let's pass an object with overwritten fields for newly created activity, and this way the new activity will be created with seconds to complete property that we have specified right here, which gives us an opportunity to check that eventually selected property is going to contain value from seconds to complete constant. And since after adding this selected property to this object, we're going to compare the full props object, which means we can also use toEqualMatcher instead of toMatch object. But since right now this property is absent, the test is failing, so I'm going to add property called selected with value from seconds to complete constant. And after this we are seeing that the test is passing. And of course, the moment we're going to remove any of these three props from base select component, the test is going to start failing. So let's revert this change, remove that modifier only from this test, and run all tests in the project. They're all passing. Link to the source code of this project will be in the video description.